welcome to Section 5 of Unit 3 of International Procurement. Today, we'll be looking at source selections. By the end of this section, you should be able to understand the meaning of source selection. You should be able to understand the evaluation process in the selection of the suppliers, explain the factors to consider when selecting suppliers, and understand the different methods of evaluation in supplier selection. So buying firms select suppliers based on their capabilities and not necessarily or primarily based on the competitive process. So in order to select suppliers who continually outperform the competition, suppliers must be carefully analyzed and evaluated. So during the solicitation stage, the evaluation criteria are developed and formulated to obtain the best value for the organization and ensure fair treatment of all candidates or potential suppliers. So after the solicitation has been done, of so after the solicitation process, offers are received, registered, handled, and opened and stored by the authorization staff. So understanding evaluation process in the source selection. So the evaluation process consists of the examination and evaluation of the offers received and considered to be valid to assess their responsiveness to specification and requirements as defined in the solicitation documents. Analysis as defined in the solicitation documents, analyze their cost and benefits and determine their price and value. So basically, the evaluation process is where the offers that have been received or potential suppliers are subject to some evaluation or some criteria for selection. So evaluation together with the requirement definition and the evaluation criteria and method specified in the solicitation document is the basis for the subsequent selection of the offer that provides the best value for the money for the organization. So evaluation process also needs to be transparent, and then therefore each step of the process should be documented in the final evaluation report for the recommendation of the award. So evaluation is conducted by designating an evaluation team, as we already know, and then in accordance with the relevant regulations, rules and procedures, they use the evaluation criteria method to as stated in the solicitation documents, to make an unbiased evaluation. So factors to consider when selecting suppliers. So different companies have different criteria based on their products, price, quality, on-time delivery, after-sales service, response to order chains, supplier locations, and special supplier financials. So basically, these are some of the things that suppliers may want to, based on to evaluate supply. Buyers may want to base on to evaluate suppliers. So when you look at table 3.2, we have some procurement evaluation criteria. So there's one for product innovation, technological process, quality, cost, reliability, cycle time, capacity, location, customer service, trading history, facilities, technical strength, financial status, and reputation. So all of these elements or all of these things here are some form of evaluation criteria organizations use to evaluate suppliers and choose them. So the strength, the technical strength, the financial status, the facilities, the um, product innovation and all of these fall under some form of criteria organizations may want to use to evaluate suppliers. We come to some evaluation methods. So we have the weighted scoring system. So in the weighted scoring system, the request for proposal or invitation to bid or request for quotation is, in any of these methods, you may use this form of evaluation method, the weighted scoring method. So when using the weighted scoring method, the award of the contract should be made to the supplier whose offer has been evaluated and determined as one responsive, compliant, acceptable, and having received the highest score out of the predetermined set of weighting, technical, and financial criteria specific for the solicitation. So basically for um, um, weighted scoring method, these are some of the more complex ways we can choose to give, a higher score to suppliers on evaluation. So the suppliers that are responsive, that are compliant, that are acceptable, and those that have received the highest score out of the predetermined, I mean, set of weighted technical and financial criteria specific to the solicitation. So out of these things we have listed, if you get a higher score out of it, then you will be chosen for the contract. So um, weighted scoring system method may be used for more complex procurement where evaluation criteria cannot easily be quantified. So we can't easily quantify the evaluation criteria. So we use these qualitative um, roadmaps or qualitative criteria to choose. Again, where different aspects of value for money, example price and quality, need to be considered and balanced. So when the aspect of value for money needs to be considered and balanced. So when there is no imbalance in the value for the aspect of value for money, so it still comes in with a qualitative. But if it were to be quantitative, or where the value of money can be calculated as, let's say, 10,000 or a quality of this, then we could use a different, weighting method. But for this one, we'll use the weighted scoring system. Different types of skills needs to be used for various factors. So when there are a lot of skills to be used for various factors, I mean, it may waste time. So we use the weighted um, scoring system. Then we come to the weighted point evaluation system. So many organizations rate suppliers by assessing points to each factor and each ratings. A weighted point evaluation system is a formal appraisal system of supply, yes, and the typical process involves the following. So they identify factors or parameters for the appraiser, as we have already mentioned some factors in the table. They determine the importance of each factor or parameter and assess a weight to or for the factor or parameter. And then for each supplier based on the factor or parameter applicable to the supplier, compute the weighted score. Assign a score to each factor out of a total of 100. So basically, the table 3.2 that had some criteria in the weighted point evaluation system, we have the these elements or these parameters of appraisals listed, and then we determine the importance of each of the parameters to the organization, and then for each supplier based on the factors or parameters, we choose or we assign some of the parameters to the supplier, and then we assign a score to each factor, and out of a total of 100, whoever performs better becomes the potential or becomes the supplier, or whoever among the potential suppliers performs better becomes the supplier of the organization. Again, we look at the linear average. So the linear average method is probably the most common used method. Specific quantitative performance factors are used to evaluate supplier performance. The first step is to assign appropriate weights to each performance factor such that the total weight of each factor adds up to 100. The assignment of these weights is a matter of judgment and top management preferences. The weights are subsequently used as multipliers for individuals' rating on each of the three performed factors. So for example, with this one, we already give some criteria already, and then we assign certain weights to these criteria. So the weights should sum up to 100, but then the weights are subsequently used as a multiplier for individual rating on each of the three performance factors. So the weights that you get, it becomes a multiplier on each of um, the items or of each of the criteria of selection we have chosen. It was in the I think this can be found in your book. So for example, we give some level of criteria you can choose from. So three, let's say delivery, quality, and then price. So that in those individual ratings becomes the multiplier. So if um, we assign 10 to price, 20 to um, quality, and let's say 15 to um, quantity, then we would use the criteria we have, and then the weighted average we have, or the linear average we have, to calculate the totality of it as a multiplier. So in this section, we looked at the meaning of source selection, the evaluation process in the selection of the suppliers, factors to consider when selecting suppliers, and different methods for evaluation in supplier selection. Thank you.